Hello everyone. In this video I will explain how we can use another way how we can do rolling restart based on change secret on Configmap, only one source. What I'm saying only one source, because in the previous videos, as we remember, I showed the way where we can define inside of Configmap annotation. Actually, it will be signal to us catch if any change inside of secret or Configmap, do rolling restart, but in case of annotations will be present under deployment Statefulset or Daemonset actually. But this is more cool way, and honestly I couldn't find more cool ways than this one, because we will see only one point, I mean Configmap or secret, it doesn't matter. And based on this annotation which defined under Configmap or secret, we will catch change inside of Configmap or secret only under data, as I showed before, and based on the Configmap name which we found when our conditions will match, if annotation will be present inside of Configmap or secret, if data will, under data information will be different than old one, at the same time event type will be update, which comes from admission controller to our kernel webhooks. And based on this information, we will get the name of the Configmap or the secret and find per each of the namespaces for Daemonset deployment and at the same time Statfulset, if any of them will use this Configmap or secret. Based on them, we will do restart for each of them actually. So in the right side, we can see I have deployed, even from name we can understand all of them which starts with Configmap. This is Daemonset deployment. Here we used multiple containers. Mount I will explain, universal I will explain, and from and without annotation of course I will explain too. At the same time it is Statefulset. The same thing for the secret. It is Daemonset, it is deployment, it's with mount and from and Statefulset. What it means with mount and universal or and from, but for each of them, Configmap and secret, we can use with three ways. Get information from inside of Configmap or secret inside of deployment Statefulset or Daemonset. One of them under env key we can use variables. Another one with the env from we can get variables to inside of our container. Another one with the volume mount point we can get information inside of container to use any information defined inside of Configmap or secret. The same thing I can say for secret too. So both of them we have three ways. And do that, even I will explain when I will expand deployment or Statefulset, it doesn't matter. We will see this definition inside of this manifest. But just imagine I've deployed each of them in our Kubernetes cluster. Right now all of them works, and in the downside we can see Configmap which I created here, and at the same time secrets which I created here. Let me explain firstly Clusterpolicy itself, then I will switch to show change and at the same time manifest itself. So left side it's Clusterpolicy for Configmap, and in the right side it's Clusterpolicy for the secret. We can see under rules I have defined variable with the name matched Configmap name, which I will do GMS pass to get object which matches to our Configmap actually. So what does it mean? It means I'm getting the name of the Configmap defined to the variable matched Configmap name. I will do mutate in any of the targets which I've defined here with a style like as under spec template metadata annotations with the key keyvalue opso global /configmap version with the resource version of the Configmap itself. So each time dynamic key will be written like as value to this key in path of deployment Statefulset or Daemonset. In case of, if we will see this part too, update will be happening inside of Configmap. If annotation will be defined, this annotation will be defined inside of Configmap. At the same time, new data will not be the same as old data which comes from admission controller inside of admission review request object. We can see this one. So this is precondition for the config map itself. And if precondition will match, in this case, I says go analyze each deployment. If on the spec template spec containers list will be env key and their value from config map reference key name will match to any of variable which I defined there. So what does it mean? It means in case of deployment, if deployment will use data which get from inside of config map with the env key or with the env from or with volumes, it doesn't matter. For each of them, if we will find the name of the config map, so it means really this deployment uses config map, which we catch based on a change which I showed in the preconditions actually. So the same thing will be for Daemonset, the same thing will be for Statefulset too. So actually, all this stuff will be same to the secret too. We can see I have defined variable with a match secret name. In case of deployment, Daemonset Statefulset, if event will be update, if annotation will be defined for the secret, if all data will not be equal to the new data, it means actually on the data key something changed for the secret. To do that, we must do rolling restart for deployment. As we see, we can read under env with the value from secret key name and from at the same time volumes. So for each of them it will be the same. I will not spend time on that actually. I will switch to show at least one config map. We can see we can read variables from config map with the config map key reference. At the same time, we can read it is universal. Two containers I have defined here, even from output of the official get pods inside of check keyvalue namespace. We see we have two or three containers per each of the pods because I have tried to simulate all stuff. Even I have enabled EC2 injection enabled for the namespace to be with more containers to simulate really our cluster policy works correctly or not. So as we see, we have two containers defined here. One of them used env key to get value from this config map key reference, another one to use volume mounts to get secret to use inside of the container too. So actually it means where will be used this config map, it doesn't matter. With the on the env value from where it doesn't matter volume mounts at the same time with env from, it is config map itself. Let me show deployment with the env from this one. For each of them we will find the name of the config map. If the config map in the match defined for each of them, for any of them, it doesn't matter. So this object will go to be restarted. I mean to roll and restart. Actually, on the spec template metadata, when annotation will be defined with a new resource version, actually roll and restart will work. So the same thing for secret. We can see value from, at the same time mount, at the same time and from. So it's secret itself, at the same time and from. So all this manifest which I'm showing right now, I will push to the GitHub repository, so you can get it from there. We don't need to spend more time on that. I will switch to the simulation. So as we see, in the right side, all pods, the names which start with config map, all this stuff, I mean Daemonset, Statefulset, or deployment uses config map. At the same time, which start with a secret, Daemonset, Statefulset, or deployment uses secret. So let me to show all secrets which deployed in the check keyvalue namespace and config maps. If I will do, first I will start with the config maps. I will change, it doesn't matter, add or delete one line on the Configmap data, and we will see in the right side. Honestly, I don't remember which Configmap were used, but we will see when event will be happen. So I will add new key on the data. As we see, restart works for Daemonset, Statefulset, at the same time daemon without annotation. So I don't remember the places where I've used, but it's correctly. Each of them will be restarted, we will see. So one point I want to see, as we see, annotation on the Configmap defined, and that's why based on only one source it's happening. So at the same time, if I will do restart for mount, so give me time please. Some of them used the same secret. Do that. I'm waiting to be finished and to be clear. This is the last one for the Daemonset, but I think yes, it's enough. So as we see, the container's ports, which use this secret, went to the restart. And at the same time, Configmap with and from, which must do restart for this port actually. So as we see, annotation defined here. So it works too. I will switch to show all this stuff for secrets too. I'm sorry. So as we see, the start for the secrets too. Where is this secret actually used? Rolling start happening right now. And as I said before, I'm waiting to finish because some of secrets used at the same time for two deployments or Statefulset. I don't remember exactly. So rolling restart will be matched in case of previous one and first one. Do that. I'm waiting. So I think it's enough. We can get this one too. They start happening, and just focus on this part. Secret and from, because I will edit the secret which uses and from. Secret. As we see, annotation defined here too, and this port will be restarted right now. So as we see, it is started. So that's it actually. I hope it will be useful.